What it is, y'all, it is your old boy Pilk, and I'm coming back at you today with more Danmachi. Now, today is, as the title has represented, the Before You Summon video. We do have the special gacha coming in tonight, and this is for basically all the really, well, not all, but a few of the really awesome Record Buster units. Now, I've been telling you guys to save for a really long time. That's still going to be my biggest answer here. These units are fantastic, especially like Lena here and Wealth. And actually, I need these two units max. I'm broken. I only need a bond of each. So even I'm sitting here like really contemplating doing a couple of summons on the banner, like maybe one or two, just to see if I get lucky. It is worth noting that the first pull is half price, so the first pull is going to be 200 Iris. The second pull is going to be the full price, but the second pull is going to be guaranteed 4-star. So, I'm still telling you guys to save. I'm not taking that back, but there's a couple conditions under which this might not be a bad idea. Number one, like, you just need a bond or two. And you don't mind wasting a few Iris in the kind of attempt at that. For me, it's like, the only unit here I don't need a bond of is Lena. So I've got, like, you know, basically a 2 out of 3 chance. Now, to be fair, odds pulling are a little bit lower, so, but I digress. 2 out of 3 of the units here I need, so I really don't think it's that big of a deal. And 600 Iris, I mean, that's like, you know, what, Record Buster rewards or something. So, yeah, it makes itself up pretty quickly. Now, the other part of the question that I've got recently is people that are brand new at the game, people that have been playing the game, you know, less than a month, and they're asking me, is this a good banner to hit? Oh, most certainly. If you can farm up more Iris in the game or something like that, and you don't mind wasting a little bit on these banners, I say wait, it's not a waste. But if you don't mind spending a little bit on these banners, you definitely do want to be able to farm up some more Iris, because we are on the cusp of collab here very quickly. Like, we're coming up on the middle, right now it is the middle of March. We're coming up at the end of March. I feel like shortly after the April Fool's event is probably about the right time for them to drop the new collab, not including, as I predicted for a while now, the potential rerun. So, this banner is really good for new players. But you want to make sure you're saving some Iris as well for the incoming collab. And I say that very sincerely, because when it comes to the collab, especially you new players, that's new CP rewards, that is Iris rewards. And frankly, if you're new to the game, you definitely want one of each of the kindergarten units. You really want one of each of those two, just for those rewards. It's really important. Now, speaking to my new players, these units are all in, anybody really, these units are all in the general pool, which means that any 3-star, 2-star ticket could, in theory, generate one of these. So, though, even after the update we're going to get here, especially after the update we're going to get here at the end of the week, that pool is very deep. So don't sit there and hedge all your bets on the fact that, you know, I'm going to get one of these units out of there. Probably not the wisest use of your Iris. But I digress. Let's get into this. Let's talk about these units. And let's come to a final conclusion. Should you summon on this banner? And I'm going to go banner by banner. So we're going to start with side A here. And we're going to talk about Azure Bloom Lena. And I talked about her a little bit yesterday. HP is 3645. Not great, but for what she does, it's acceptable. Not worried about her physical attack. Her MP is really good. Magic attack is fantastic. Though to be fair, her deck, yeah, endurance and defense stat really leaves a lot to be desired. Though Dex and Agility, I almost said Dex earlier, Dex and Agility are really good, and like I said before, Magic is off the chain. She's also an Aqua Killer, so when we get like a 7th zone where you've got like the fish to fight or something like that, she'll be really good at that. So she kind of like is really good across the board here. Now, to be fair, it's not very often we get these, but if you don't have another Aqua Killer, which is a rarer skill, it's not as common as like Beast Killer or something. So it's gonna have its uses. Now, skill-wise, Skill 1 is a self Magic Dex light attack damage buff, 60%. So it's not an attack, it's literally just a buff. And that's for 4 turns. Then, with an additional 3 actions of low light magic attack with a faux singular low light magic attack. So in other words, from turns 2, 3, and 4, she's going to do an additional attack on top of whatever else she's doing, with a single target low light magic attack with a high critical rate. So in other words, if I do skill 1 and I come in and do skill 2, after she does the skill 2, she's also going to do that extra low light magic attack, and it's going to get a high critical rate. She's going to be really good. Now, skill 2, speaking of which, is a faux singular fast highlight magic attack, and with magic resist and light resist down 35% for 3 turns. So we have had some units in the game that do 40% of either one of those stats. 35% for both is like the best you're going to get with the double stat. It's really, really, really good. Skill 3. This begins to show how awesome she is. In fact, I'm going to come back to skill 3 in a moment, because if I'm going to be honest here, if you're going to be building a stack, you do skill 1, skill 2, preferably then you'd find a way to do SA, which is ultra light magic attack damage, 80% per each self magic buff skill. Now remember, that is a buff per magic buff skill. You're going to have a magic buff skill on the adventurer side and on the assist side. That's 180%, or I'm sorry, 160% buff, because math is hard. And then debuff light resistance down 50%. Now here's where it gets wild. Skill 3, back to skill 3, is a faux singular, slow, super light magic attack, 80% per each self magic buff skill. So, literally, the only difference between her SA and her skill 3 is that SA is an ultra light magic attack, skill 3 is a super light magic attack. It's not going to hit as hard, but pretty doggone close. And the SA has a light resistance debuff, though to be fair, you'd preferably do skill 3 and then come down here and do skill, or SA and then come down here and do skill 3, which is going to make it hit even harder. So it's like getting 2 SAs. Now to be fair, every time she does skill 3, she's going to remove her magic buff, so you're going to have to go back in, redo skill 1, and then do skill 3, but trust me, the payoff is there. It's going to be really good. I like this unit a lot. I adore this unit. I use her as often as I can. Passive skills are Light Manifestation, Dark Resist plus 35% when attacking and countering, Critical Damage plus 20%, Magic Agility and Dex plus 30%, Damage plus 20% upon penetration, and like I said before, Aqua Killer. Really stellar unit. I like her. If you can afford to Maxima Breaker, I think she's going to pay out. But you do want to go into the collab with a minimum of 8,000 Iris. So make your choices wisely there. Okay? Determination Wealth. Determination Wealth is one of those units that I think is so incredibly useful. I actually put him on my tier list for early players. Now, let's just talk about him first, all right? And then we'll go back and talk about the banner, okay? Wealth. He's a magic type. HP is 3747. It's good. MP is 366. That's respectable. Magic attack is 1900. Could be better, but it's still a triple S stat. You can't be mad about that. Defense, like all magic units, which by and large is the endurance stat, leaves a bit to be desired, though Dex and Agility definitely make up for that. He's all around a very good unit, and a dragon killer. So like I was talking about with Lena, how Lena's an aqua killer. Dragon killers are a little more common, but I feel like Wealth has so much going on for him. I think he pays out dividends. If you really like, if you want my opinion for like the best unit on the banner, this unit is, he's not going to hit the same way that Lena does, but for how he's going to support your team, let's just get into it. Skill 1. Flare Hammer. Allies. SA gauge charge gained by 33%, magic dex, and fire attack damage 30%. So if you're using a magic fire team, this dude's going to buff everybody. Now, it's not the best buff, but it's a buff. It's going to be something. And increases SA gauge charge across the board for whatever team he's attached to. So you generally see that I build teams with that Idolina or Idoline in the front, and this dude literally has the same skill and literally has the same ability to produce that. So very, very, very good unit. Skill 2 is an AoE attack, which is the only AoE attack you're going to see on this banner. It's a fast, high fire magic attack with damage received, attack all and single targets plus 20%. In other words, that's a 20% debuff on incoming damage on your foe. So in other words, your foe, just no matter whether it's an all target or a single target, is going to take 20% extra damage. That's very good. Make no mistake, that's a fantastic skill. Skill 3 is a super fire magic attack. Foe singular super fire magic attack with temporary magic boost, high penetration rate, and 40% HP regen. The only downside to this attack is that it is not a percentage attack, as you'll see with the SA. SA is ultra fire magic attack damage, 40% per each self magic and fire attack damage buff. So once again, 40% per magic. You should have 2 buffs for that. That's going to be 80% fire attack damage. You should have 2 buffs of that. Basically a buff on the adventure and the cess side. That's going to be another 80%. It's going to be a total 160% buff. So that should hit really, really, really hard. Also on that, whatever foe he hits is going to remove strength and magic buffs. So all around a very good, very strong unit. Skill 3 leaves a little bit to be desired in that it doesn't have a percentage boost on the attack damage. But Wealth is honestly more of a support. He just happens to be a support unit that's got a really good SA. Wind resist for his passives. Wind resist to 25% when countering or attacking. Damage 20% upon penetration. Counter damage 50%. Magic, agility, and dex plus 25%. And like I said earlier, 50% towards dragons because he's a dragon killer. Like I said, best on the banner in my opinion. And I say that as someone who uses Lena as often as possible. The obligatory assist on the banner is Hestia. Yellowbird Hestia is fantastic. I wish I had her max limit broken. I don't. But let's go ahead and here and talk about it, okay? HP is 838. Not the best, but MP is good at 194. Physical attack is fantastic. 579 is a really good physical attack stat. Now, to be fair, that means she's going to be a really poor choice for anybody on this banner, but generally speaking, if you've got physical teams you can use her on, great. Her skills are ally strength plus 15%, so once again, really, really, really good for a physical team, and water and wind resist down 15%. So if you can use her on a water or wind physical team, you're going to love life. So, not that there's really a lot of water physical units in the game, honestly. But Magic's gotten a lot more love. That said, the water and wind resist will pay out if you've got water and wind teams. So, going back here to the banner, if you're brand new at the game, save some Iris for the incoming collab. Make sure you can still, you'll probably still be able to farm story modes and all that. If you can get a wealth, you'll love life. Lena, and even if you get, like, I'm not even going to say max them or break them because you're going to have the ability to do that down the road. But these units are going to pay out in their own way. The only thing to be aware of is that these are predominantly, and I emphasize predominantly just because of wealth, single target units. So when you're doing your story grind, you really want more AoEs for that. But if you want to be successful in Record Buster, those two units are going to be really, really, really good on the adventure side for that. And then Chicky Hestia is just going to be really good for water or wind teams. So you got a decision to make there. But that's only banner number 1. Banner number 2. And maybe even my favorite of the banners. And I say that even though I think Wealth is the only one that was on my tier list. This banner's really good. So, Crimson Balefire Reveria is a unit I use a lot. Just because the fire team is just insane. HP leaves a lot to be desired. She's very squishy. 3564 is kind of bad. But her MP at 411 is really good. Her magic attack right at 2000 is fantastic. Defense, once again, leaves a bit to be desired, but it always kind of does with magic units. Dex and agility, though, really great. And again, she's a dragon killer. If you actually can run her and Wealth on a team together, you've got a great, great foundation for a single target fire team. Just saying. Skills are foe singular. Mid-fire magic attack with magic resist and fire resist down 30%. High fire magic attack with high penetration rate. Self magic and fire attack damage buff 70%. And skill 3 is a super fire magic attack with temporary magic boost and critical rate and status debuff down 2 turns. Or I'm sorry, plus 2 turns. Sorry. Critical rate and status buff plus 2 turns. So, in other words, basically when she attacks, she's going to basically continue any debuffs that are on your opponent, which is nice. Her SA is an Ultra Fire magic attack damage plus 50% per each self magic and fire attack damage buff skill. Once again, math on that becomes a 200% buff. Kind of ridiculous. Kind of ridiculous. Fire Manifestation. Wind resist plus 25%, just like before, when countering or attacking. Counter damage plus 50%, magic plus 35%, dex plus 25%, and 50% towards dragons, because she's a dragon killer. I can't say enough about this unit. You see me use this unit all the time. If you are going to go after her, though, definitely go after Wealth as well. It'll pay out. Just remember, save some Iris for the collab. You need. I mean, they've dropped so many bait banners on us right now that I think it's impossible not to fathom that there's something big right around the corner. So just be responsible with your Iris. That said, those two units are going to work well together, and they're both great. Ray. Now, Ray is more where I'd like to see a magic unit. HP is 3705. MP 389. Not great, not bad. Magic attack is 1991. So, just slightly lower. But that HP is a lot higher. Her defense is 510. So, that's a bit better. Dex is 663. not as good, but her agility is like one of the highest in the game. 1120 is a really high agility stat. Crazy high agility stat. Now, what does Ray do? Well, skill 1. Foe singular. Strength and magic minus 40% for 4 turns. Remember, the Haruhime unit that I use like every single team is strength and magic minus 40%, but on an AoE. This is literally the same skill, but for single target. Though it does add 3 actions, low wind magic attack with high critical rate. In other words, you do skill 1, turn 2, 3, and 4, she's going to get that extra attack. So let's say for the sake of argument, she does skill 1, skill 2. The end of doing skill 2 on turn 2, she's also going to do a low wind magic attack with a high critical rate. Pretty wild, honestly. Skill 2 is a high wind magic attack with high end guard rate, self-status debuff and ally status buff, plus 2 turns. Remember, with Haruhime, that's a heal. With Ray, it is an attack that also does that. So, once again, kind of not as good as Haruhime, because, Haruhime is a healer and all that. But doing a single target attack on top of that is an interesting take on the situation. Skill 3, and this is kind of going back to what we talked about with Wealth. All allies, SA gauge charge gain by 33%, magic and dex 30%, and 35% HP regen. Now, the SA gauge charge skill is really good. You're going to use that very often. Being that it's all allies, it doesn't matter. You can do like I do with Lena, or Line. Very different people. And, sacrifice her turn 1, and everyone still gets it. Now, not as good, in my opinion, though doing magic and dex is really nice, and the HP regen is really nice. I really still prefer what Line does, but if you're new to the game and you're having to choose, I would almost say if you have to choose, Wealth would be better, but she still is really good here. I mean, really good. Passive skills, Earth Resist plus 35%, Binding Strike, Foe Singular, Regular Attack when countering, and Status debuff plus 1 turn. So, basically she'll do an attack, and she'll basically take the debuffs up an extra turn. That's going to be really nice. So, basically whenever somebody hits her and she counters, that person gets an extra turn of debuff. That's really awesome. That's a great skill right there. Then she gets critical damage plus 20%, magic and agility plus 40%, and 10% MP regen every turn. 10% MP regen every turn, which is a lot. So, all around a really, really, really solid unit. Finally, Summer Color Seer, and I love this unit so much. We've talked a lot about a lot of magic units, and this Seer is insane. If you're going to go after the Lena that's in the first banner, you need this assist. HP is 760, which could be better, but for everything else she does, you'll make more than makes up for it. MP is 226, that's really high for an assist. Physical attack is garbage. Magic attack's where it's at, 640. It's a great magic attack, and 215 defense. Now, what does she do? At max limit break, and I want to emphasize max limit break, she does magic plus 20%, light and wind attack damage plus 15%. Now, if she's at level 60 or higher, that's be magic 15%, light and wind attack damage 10%. And I think I should go clarify that same with Hestia. These are max limit break skills. If she's at level 60, that goes down to 10% respectively. So when you see assists saying these things, you will only see that if you max her out. So new players don't get disgruntled if you get 1 or 2. You're like, why should she only do this? The answer is because you need all 6 in order to get that skill. That said, if you're going to go after this unit in any way, you need this unit. So they kind of made these two indispensable from one another. So once again, on these 2 banners, if you're brand new at the game, they're great ways to start. If you only need a bond or 2 of each one, maybe hit once or twice, but be cautious because we do have something big incoming very, very, very soon, and you want a minimum of 8,000 Irish for that. That's why I've been saving. That's why I haven't been pulling. And frankly, if I do pull on these at all, it's going to be very minimal. I might not this one, because both of them are maxed, and I'll eventually get Ray, Brain, 3 and Brain. I'll eventually get Ray. I'm not worried about that, but I'm probably gonna do at least 1, if not 2 summons here to try to get either one of those, and we'll kind of see where that goes. That's where my brain's at. Like, even I'm like, save, but this actually might be worthwhile. So do bear that in mind. The only other thing I want to discuss, and this really goes more back to my whales. We did talk about this yesterday, and actually I didn't realize at the time it's White Day Special Box. This is 1 box, it seems, that has all this in it. It's not broken up. So I read it wrong yesterday in the news video. So if you are after this, understand this is going to be very expensive. It's going to be like $1,400 paid. And for that, all these down here are well worth. The time limited exchange, probably not. Because bear in mind that usually is like the newest unit in there will be like a year old. Maybe if we get really lucky, maybe an anniversary unit, but if they're anniversary units or units that are newer than the anniversary, then that becomes worth. But typically they don't do that. Typically, and I will emphasize typically, the time limited exchange is like a year old. So while the adventure ticket and the assist ticket are really good and really worth, once again, this is going to be like 1,400 paid Iris. So A, it's going to be very expensive. Like, you're going to have to drop real money on it. But with the adventure ticket and the assist ticket, you literally get to go in the general pool, pick whatever you want. It's hard to say no to that. It really is hard to say no to that. But anything paid you spend on this banner is paid Iris that you're not putting into the collab. Bear that in mind. That's not, I'm probably going to buy this just because, bonds. Come on. Bonds. Guaranteed. Like, basically buying Prism bonds is what this is. So, wise money for me. But, let me know, guys, in the comment section what you think. I think I'm going to go 2 summons deep on this and no more. And I say that as somebody who's like, saves. And I've been saving. So, if you're brand new at the game, consider it. But also bear in mind, guys, you need 8,000 Iris for whatever new collab's coming. That's not including any reruns. Just saying. This video, guys, like, comment, share. We'll be back at you with more Danmachi here really soon. Decisions, guys. Good luck.